Hey there, Joomla fans. Tim Davis here. I'm a Joomla fan too. Thanks for tuning in to this week's Maintenance Monday live stream. In fact, I missed last week. Things got super busy, but doing one today. So remember, subscribe to the channel and click the ring the bell to receive updates and notifications of new live streams and tutorials and other things. It's been a while since I've done a new tutorial, but I'm gearing up for it and doing some organizing back here at CyberSalt World Headquarters. Anyways, today we're going to look at what to set the session handler to on our Joomla sites. And so let's head on over to the screen here and we will take a look just about what we're talking about here. First, I want to just remind you, go transition. Oh, that's the wrong window. We're going to go to that one there. Okay. Just to remind you, I already mentioned about subscribing to the channel. 555 subscribers on the channel right now, and that's super exciting. It's going up a little bit of time, so do subscribe. And also remember, each month we have a giveaway here on the channel for 1-year membership to manage one site on myjoomla.com. That's Phil Taylor's site. It's got great resources for doing an audit on your site. It looks at the files from right on your all the files on your server and give you tons of tips for organizing and making sure your site is secure, and there's plenty to learn on there. So like I said, today we're talking about what to do with Session Handler, what we should set it to. Now I can't really zoom in like I do when I have the tutorials that I'm recording, and so we're just down here at the bottom of the screen in the configuration file. Now to get there, we go to System, Global Configuration, and then click on the System tab. You might see Site tab first, but click on System. So basically, the session is a file, is information that is set when you log in, saying, hey, Tim is logged into the site, and so we will talk to Tim's computer, and in layman's terms, there's a permission set and connections. That's what layman terms are. I'm a user, not a programmer. So anyways, and then once that session is set, you have, in this case, 15 minutes to be doing something on the site, saving it or closing a window or just calls to the server. And each time you do something, the session is reset. So if you leave, in this case, the way this site is set, after 15 minutes and do nothing, then the session expires and someone might come walking along, go to on your computer, and it won't let them do it. Also won't let you do it. Now that also won't let you be active on the site after you've been away 15 minutes because it doesn't know you. It's not that smart. So there's two options right now in Joomla. This is a Joomla 3.7.5 site. There's two options for where to store the session information. Probably by default, when you set up your Joomla site, it is set to database. And so that information that records that your visit is active is stored right in your Joomla database. And that works great. But if your server or your web host is set up for it, and on CyberSalt hosting it is set up for this, if you switch from database to PHP, then what will happen is, and I'm not going to say this just yet, what will happen is that your session information, instead of being sent to the database and a hard drive spinning, or maybe you have an SSD drive on your servers or your host has SSD drives, instead of it being going to a drive, the session information is just stored in a file right on the server in the memory. This is my understanding of it anyways. That's always faster when you can write to a file that's running in the memory on the server instead of running to saving it to a hard drive. Then that is faster. And especially some people will run Joomla, but the database is on an entirely different server. So this can speed up things, but the sessions, looking for a session and checking a session, make things run a little bit faster. Now the reason I haven't saved this yet is because if your web host is not set up to handle sessions through the PHP method or through a file method, then if you save this, you might get locked out of your Joomla site. So don't try this unless you're sure that you can switch it to PHP. Maybe you have sites on the same server and you're working on different ones, or until you are sure that you can go into your control panel for your web hosting and go and edit this right in the file. Now, so before I save this, we'll just take a look at how to do that. In this tab, here's the file manager for this web hosting account that I have this Joomla site on. And basically, what I've already done in the file manager is clicked on, in this control panel, is clicked on file manager. And then in the root folder that Joomla is installed, you want to find the configuration.php file. And then when you find that, you want to edit it. Now, I'm not going to open this right now because I can't blur out password information on a live stream. But what I will show you is this. I have this file right here. If you save your configuration file after switching to PHP for your session handler and your site doesn't work, go into the file space, go into configuration.php, find the line in your configuration.php that says public session _ handler, and what you will see is this. Once you switch to PHP, the handlers actually equals none. You would think they would say PHP, but it says none, because I think that's a carryover from some other versions, because the option used to be between database or none. So when you see public session _ handler none, if you want to switch back, switch that to database, and then save your file in your file manager, and then your Joomla site will come back online. So let's just go back here because I want to show you what happens when you do change this. One other thing, remember, back up your site. I've got a tutorial on how to do that. I'll drop a card here. Back up your site regularly, and as you're tinkering around with this stuff, because something can happen at any time. You never know. All right, so now we're logged into the back end of the site here still. Session handler was at database. It switched to PHP. Now I'm going to save it, and what's going to happen is this. When I save it, I'm going to get kicked out of the back end of the site. And that's why we want to make sure that you have access to the file manager on your web hosting, because if I had not been kicked out here, it had just gone black, then I would have been in a bad way. But basically, when you switch the method of where your sessions are stored, you have to create a new session. You're logged out. And so I can log into here. Password for CyberSalt. You guys probably could have guessed that, but not the password. We'll go into there. I guess I didn't do that very well, did I? Oh my goodness. Oh, I know what I did. This is just a dummy site for me to experiment with, and I didn't want to worry about you seeing my username, but most people can guess CyberSalt anyways. And that will take us back into the site, and we can go system global configuration. And just for maintaining, or perhaps even as more just setting up our site here, we now have changed session handler from database to PHP, which is the none method. And there it is, and it's stuck. So that's just something that you can do to give yourself a little bit of boost of performance in your Joomla site, and a good way to set it up if your web hosting is set up for that. And so we will just wrap that up before we head to the chat to see if anybody is online with any questions. So with that completed, that part completed, once again, as always, enjoy your Joomla sites, and God bless you. Don't forget to subscribe.